As I tell every band that sends me a demo, a huge part of being a band is touring. If you're not touring, you're not really doing your job. Touring has long been important for building a national audience, gaining experience, and making money. As other sources of income have diminished, though, money from live performances is more important to a musician's livelihood than ever. Welcome to The Future of What? I'm your host, Portia Sabin, president of the independent record label Kill Rock Stars. Today, we're talking to several bands about how they take their music on the road and the challenges they face. It's all coming up on The Future of What?
Can I have a taste of your ice cream? Can I lick the crumbs from your table? Can I interfere in your crisis? No, mind your own business.
You're listening to The Future of What? We're talking with Hutch Harris of the Thermals. Hutch, welcome to The Future of What?
Thanks, Portia.
I want to ask you about touring.
Okay.
When I talk to a new band, they always say they're going to go on tour.
Uh-huh.
And then they either do go on tour and hate it and break up.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, every now and then, they go on tour and they love it.
Yes.
So
or they love it at first and then they hate it very
Right.
soon after.
So can you tell us about so you went on that first tour back in the day?
Yeah. Kathy Foster, who plays with me in the Thermals, we had a couple bands before the Thermals, and we had already done a lot of touring, and we did like it, and it is hard. I mean, whether or not, if you love it or hate it, it is just something you have to do if you want to be a successful band. But yeah, it does drive a lot of people crazy. But, once the Thermals got signed and we really had to really start touring most of the year, we had already done enough tours that we were kind of ready for that. And we had kind of done we had done so many tours with no label support, with no agent, we're booking ourselves. That by the time, once we were signed and started touring, it got easier in some ways, because we had done such hard tours before that.
Can you tell us about some of those hard tours? What makes touring hard?
Okay, when bands that are starting out now complain about touring, I have to explain to them, and I sound old because I am. But so Kathy and I, the first tour we did was probably 1995 or 96. So we had no cell phone, we had no GPS, and like I said, we had no agent, we had no label, we didn't even have email. So what we would, you're just calling. When you're booking the tour yourself, you're just calling people. It takes forever because you're missing people a lot. You're leaving messages, for weeks. Then when you finally hear back from someone, they don't want to do a show for you. You get in the van and you just have some handwritten, you've talked to the promoter on the phone and you just have handwritten directions that are, usually not totally correct. So when you roll into a city, then you have to go find a payphone to call the promoter and hope they're around so you can get exactly to the, club. I mean, I just remember even just when you had MapQuest and you would, still before GPS, you'd print out, directions that would also be wrong often.
Right.
So now today, when you think you have a cell phone, you have a smartphone, you have GPS, it's so much easier than it used to be, which is great for us. It's so much less stressful than it used to be. But I mean, still touring is stressful. But you do have to, when new bands complain about touring, you got to be the old man and tell them when, back in my day, you really don't know how easy it is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it helped that you and Kathy had been friends for a while.
Definitely.
So that you guys got along.
Yeah.
Because I have been on tours where I wasn't speaking to my guitar player my bass player, and I would speak to my bass player and tell my bass player to tell my guitarist something.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was really
And stories
juvenile.
like that are common.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, another thing I tell bands is when you're starting a band with someone, the priority is that you get along first and then can you play together.
Right.
If you, if you're in a band with someone you don't like, I wouldn't say that band's not going to last because these bands do last and bands just hate each other for their entire lives. Yeah. But, I mean, if you really want to enjoy being in a band, people think the priority is, well, let's find someone who can play and can we play together? No, it's can we be friends first and then can we be a band second?
Right. So do you guys have any, I know that I have some tour stories that are, like 2 or 3 margarita tour stories, like where you're not going to actually hear it until we're like pretty wasted because they're
I think
that
most
terrible.
of our stories are like that.
Do you have any that we can have over like morning coffee? Any good ones that can be shared?
I mean, I think for what we're talking about, I remember one time just on one of our first tours, we were going to Detroit. We had terrible directions. We pulled into the city. We're like driving around forever looking for a payphone. Finally find a payphone. Promoter's not answering. Driving around even longer, trying to find the club. We never found the club. And this is almost 20 years ago. So this was not, this is not a fun time to be driving around Detroit.
Right.
Aimlessly, not aimlessly, but trying to find the damn club. Eventually, we just left the city.
Right.
Never found the show. We just turned around and left. Never knew what happened. Never heard back from the promoter. There was no way.
Wow.
Maybe he called us at home, but we never knew.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a huge missed opportunity for us.
I managed a band one time who we booked a tour. I mean, I booked the tour, so it's the same deal. And they showed up, and the venue had exploded the night before, and there was a hole in the ground.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
You might be
That's
relieved
happened.
at that point.
I know. You're like, oh, thank God, we can just go home.
Yeah.
So, in addition to GPS, has anything else changed that's made you more comfortable on the road, or is it just literally just getting used to it and knowing what you're doing?
It's nice if you can, there's companies like Band-to-Go that rent sprinters to bands, or there's more than one company like that will, if your band can't afford a van, to buy a van, but you can afford to rent one from your tour, and you can rent a sprinter, and they put like an Xbox and there's like captain's chairs in it. It's a lot more comfortable than like a broken down like 85 Chevy van, which is what we used to tour in.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot more facilities, there's a lot more options for bands like that. And I mean, really just having the internet, there's just, obviously the internet has changed everything, and not always for the better, but it's definitely such a good resource for bands, to talk to other bands and to, I can't like stress it hard enough. Imagine trying to book your own tour without email or without the internet. It's insane. Yeah. So it's made it so much easier, I think.
We lost the 20-year-olds at payphones. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
No idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. I know.
Well, Hutch Harris is the lead singer and guitar player of the Thermals. He joined us here in studio. Hutch, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Conquered in the sun, but we lived in the shade. Yeah, baby,
was Now We Can See by the Thermals. If you're enjoying this program, please subscribe to our show on iTunes. To find out what's coming up next, follow us on Twitter at KRSFOW. You're listening to The Future of What? Prolific rock group Portugal the Man has been touring consistently since 2004. We're talking with their bassist, Zach Carothers. Zach, welcome to The Future of What?
Thank you for having me.
So today we are talking about what it's like to be in a working band.
Living hell. Let's do this.
So basically, you guys have been a band for quite a number of years.
Way too long, yeah.
And you are now at a level where I'm assuming you tour in a bus. Do you tour in a bus?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that like? What are the pluses and minuses of touring in a bus?
You sleep more. I was the night driver. We were in a van for about, in this band, we were in a van for about 8 years or so, I think. I was one of the night drivers. I didn't sleep very much. Even when I did sleep, a lot of times it was, in the driver's seat because I knew I had to start driving at 3 a.m. or something. And so when we first got a bus, it was the biggest moment of my life at that point. Our first night in a tour bus, you have no idea how happy it was. It was here in Portland, Oregon. It was crazy. It was our first big tour. It was magical. We had rented out the Crystal Ballroom for rehearsals. So
Whoa.
The Crystal Ballroom was ours for 3 nights. Insane. And somehow we still got very little work done because it was just so cool.
Yeah.
Then we went down, we got in the bus, we were checking it out. Our tour manager bought champagne, and it was pretty funny. We popped the corks and we were trying to figure out the sound system. And right when we turned it on, it was tuned to a local radio station that was playing our song. It was ridiculous moment.
That's crazily magical.
Yeah, I went to sleep. We rolled out of town having some beers and stuff, and I fell asleep, and then we woke up in Northern California, and that drive would have killed me, but I got up well rested, and I sleep like a baby in my little. It's so dark in the bunks. It's my little worry cube, my little stress coffin.
Wow.
It's just like it's where it's where I can lay down there and just kind of black out the world. The generator just kind of hums you to sleep. I sleep better on a tour bus than anywhere else, for sure.
Incredible.
But I do miss the fun things we get to do when we're just driving through, a desert in New Mexico at 10 in the morning, and we see a random little cabin up on a hill or a cave. We just stop and we go, hey, let's go check that out. You can't really do that anymore.
Right.
So it just takes you from show to show, but it's more pro. You're definitely you're better rested, but you just got to really make time to go out and find your own fun. Because we like doing things.
Uh-huh.
That's a big hobby of ours. Is we're never one of those bands that goes somewhere and just sits in the hotel. We don't sleep. We like to experience. We eat. We drink. We make friends. We do whatever the people do. And so it's a little bit more difficult in the bus, but we find ways to do it.
Right. So now I've heard lots of things about tour buses. I've never actually toured on a tour bus because my bands were always in cars and things.
Yeah.
But I've heard the number one rule on the tour bus is never poop on the bus.
Yeah, it costs a lot more money. Now, if you wanted me to get into some gruesome details,
Why not?
There is a way to do it. But
Aiga, I don't even know if I want to know that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But there is, anything's possible.
Ooh.
There's a lot of tricks that you learn involving everything, not just poop. And I never had to because I'm a man. I can pretty much control my bodily actions, pretty well. But there's also a lot of booze and a lot of food and a lot of other things involved. So you never know. But cooking on a tour bus is very fun. And our tour manager, Scott, he is very unbelievable at it because you don't have a lot of choices. We get our rider every day, what we get for food, and we kind of stock the bus. A lot of that is things that we don't even really eat at a show, but we put on the bus for late night snacking, things like that. But there's only so many things you can have on there. So some people get creative, get like a Foreman grill or something like that. Because when you're on a bus for 45, 50 days, and you only pretty much have a microwave and a toaster and a coffee pot, you tend to get a little crazy. So take hot dogs, for example. You have no idea how many ways that we have learned to cook a hot dog while on a tour bus.
Wow.
And it's pretty fun. So my favorite two are toaster dogs, where we just take the toaster, we stick them in straight down. So you can do a whole pack of weenies pretty much. You can fit about 8 of them in there.
Okay.
Drop it, pull them out. And there's a little bit of a fire hazard with all the with all the grease and things, but hey, it's just a risk you have to
It's
take.
just a risk you have to take. Yeah.
And greatness never comes without risk. Coffee dogs is another one that's very fun. So we just pretty much throw a bunch of hot dogs in the coffee pot, fill the machine up with water, and just don't add.
Boil them.
Just don't add coffee to it, and it just heats up and broils your hot dogs. You just walk around with a coffee pot full of hot dogs and hand them out to your boys.
Sweet, nice.
We wrap them in other meats. We've got some pretty crazy systems.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then how many people can you get on the tour bus? I mean, what's your working roster?
It sleeps 12. We roll with 12 because we always pack the house. We try to leave one extra bunk for any, hop-alongs.
Mm-hmm.
You do get some hop-alongs. If a friend wants to come jump on the bus for a day or two, but we've got a big crew, we've got a big band. A lot of times we have a family. We got a 4-year-old running around.
Right.
But in that case, that we kind of make the back lounge the family bedroom a lot of the times. We try to keep a bunk open for hop-alongs, and we always bring at least one photographer or street artist that likes to come. That's what the extra bunk is for, just somebody that wants to travel and can kind of just use us to go see some different cities. And so
that's cool.
We like taking street artists that would normally be hopping trains and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, hey, come hop on the bus for a couple of days.
That's fun.
Or any photographers that want to roll around. We're big into that kind of thing. We like to give people the opportunity to do that.
Community.
Yeah,
a little community there. That's nice.
Yeah.
So you're on the road in the bus 45 to 50 days. What is a daily, what's your daily routine on the bus? How does it unfold?
It kind of depends on what you do. Like I said, we're very proactive. We like to go out and do a lot of things. So depends on the headlining tour. Our crew will get up. Thank God we have crew now. Love to the Lords of Portland. Our crew is the best crew ever. My back's gone out. I don't know how many times. I was the trailer packer for
I was too.
For years. And it finally went out. Sciatica real bad. Couldn't put on my own shoes for about 3 weeks. It's pretty rough. Strong as an ox now, though. It's fine. No problem. But a lot of times with the full crew, that first bus tour was absolute hell. We were working so hard. Those days were insane. We'd load in. We'd get up at about 8 or 9 to load in. And we were on a new album cycle. And it was our first album on a major label. So usually a label A&R or a radio rep would pick us up at about 8 o'clock. We'd go around, do a bunch of radio stations, playing acoustic, doing interviews all day. Come back, sound check, finish setting up the gear, sound check, more interviews, maybe get time for dinner, maybe not. Sometimes we didn't. Play a show. Usually I can interview a photo or two afterwards, hang out with all your friends, drink as much as you possibly can while packing the trailer, shut the door, hopefully with enough time to go get a drink at a bar before the bars close. A lot of times it didn't happen. Have a few on the bus, go to sleep about 5, wake up at 8 again. For 6 or 7 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
3 hours sleep a night. It's pretty rough. Now it's a little better. We've got the best crew in the world. Day now, the crew will load in at 8 or 9. We'll wake up around 9:30 or 10. It depends. I wake up about 9. And then some of our guys sleep till 2. Our singer wakes up 6. He's a dad. And we just go out and we see what's around. But a lot of times if we're far away, we take a cab into the city, check out local shops, check out local food, and pretty much find something to do. We all find a little bit of time for our hobbies. I like taking pictures, so I go around and take a lot of pictures. And we just like to soak in the culture. We've got a very unique opportunity to see the world. And granted, we're working during that. We utilize any free time that we can to soak in whatever's around us.
Definitely. So let's talk. You mentioned album cycle. We've been talking about that a bunch with everybody. You know. So what is, because the thing is this sort of weird 45, 50 days in a bus, that's not the rest of your year.
No, there is a lot of promo, a lot of recording time. It honestly depends on the year. Everyone is different. It just kind of depends on what you're doing that year. But some bands take a long time to record. Some bands are very quick. Some people write for a long time. Some people take a lot of time off. We don't take time off, ever. We work every single day except Christmas, pretty much. And whether it's not always necessarily band related, but we're always doing something together. We're always doing some kind of projects.
Well, you guys are also kind of, not totally unique because a lot of bands are close friends, but you guys are close friends. And There are bands that like don't talk when they're not on the road together.
God, I wish we were one of those bands. We do spend probably too much time together. I mean, like brothers and stuff, we fight a lot. We do a lot of things. The last big show we had in Portland, we were on our bus. The singer and I got in a fight. It was fun fighting. Ended up kind of getting serious. I ended up breaking a few of his ribs
What?
by accident. He hurt me too. About a week later, we were just kind of in pain. We're like, we were in Vegas, and it was like, I think I need to go to the hospital.
Whoa.
And we both went to the hospital. Yeah, things happen.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I was on a tour once where I literally said to my bass player, Fonlin, can you tell Holly that we need to stop at the next rest stop or something like that? Because I was like, we were not speaking.
Yeah.
It's so juvenile.
Oh, I know, but that's how things get. It's like siblings. People that haven't toured and haven't been in a band don't really understand. It's like, it's a different kind of close. It's different than brothers. It's different than couples. I try to explain it. It's like, if you can understand what being married's like, but imagine, so you live together, but even as a married couple, you leave and you go somewhere else to work for 9 to 10 hours and then come home and you have that time. You don't. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, hotel every day for years and years and years. And with 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely
I like that.
unlike any other.
It's unlike anything else.
It's true. It's
I don't
its
know how
own
to
thing.
do anything else. So this is what I'm doing.
Well, you've been doing this for a while now, so
Yeah, I've gotten all right at it.
you've gotten all right at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. But I mean, everyone says this lifestyle takes its toll on personal relationships because like
definitely.
if you're married or if you're with somebody and they can't really get behind like, hey, gonna be gone for 45 days.
Yeah, it's tough.
It can be really tough.
It definitely is, especially at the beginning. Once things get a little easier, when you get bigger and you do actually start making money. We were poor and homeless for years and years and years. We lived in the van. We lived on people's couches. And that's when it took a lot of it. So it still does now, obviously, but you can do things. We have the option if, girl's mad at you, you can be like, all right, I'll fly you out for this next day off or something. And I can actually get our own hotel room because I can maybe afford to get a hotel room now.
Right.
But there are times where you couldn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I dropped out of college. I lost, I don't know how many really good paying jobs, apartments, girlfriends, dogs. I give up everything to do it. But there's just something that, and not all people that do it, I've lost a lot of band members too. Like they're not dead or anything. I know where they are. They just didn't want to do it anymore.
Exactly.
Or it was too hard. And it's definitely not for everybody. And a lot of people, a lot of bands that are starting out do ask advice. And that's always one thing I say. I'm like, it's not easy. You got to be good and you got to be determined and you got to like really want it. And but you don't have to decide right away either. That's the thing. Everybody's so, definitive. And whether it's like, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this, try it out.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to think a minute before you sacrifice jobs and education and things like that. But in general, just try things and change your mind. I change my mind all the time.
Right.
And that's fine.
Well, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're talking about it, because I find, in my job running Kill Rock Stars, I get people approach me every day about, we want to be a band, we're this, we're that. And I'm always like, do you guys even really know what this job is that you want? Yeah. And that's the thing, because so many people have said to me like, oh, I'm totally like, this is my life. Music is my life, but I don't want to quit my day job and I don't want to do this and I don't want to lose my girlfriend. And I don't want to lose my nice apartment and all this stuff. And I'm glad that we're talking to you because you guys had literally nothing, as you said.
Oh yeah, we lost it all. But you don't have to go as hardcore as we did as well. You can keep an apartment.
Right.
You can do that kind of stuff. It's just we went all in.
Right.
And you don't have to do it, but it is. A lot of people don't understand how hard of work it is. I've built houses. I've worked in warehouses. I've washed dishes. I've cooked. I've done pretty much every job there is. I've never worked even close to as hard at anything as I do with this. It's not a 9 to 5. It's when you open your eyes, when you close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many things that people don't think about. And honestly, one of the last things, sadly, is playing music. I play so much less music now that I'm a professional musician. There's so much other things to do.
Right.
And right now we're kind of getting into practice mode. We just got a space and we haven't had one in a long time. And it's been, we're just getting into the swing of things, but just playing music with my guys again, so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's really good. But yeah, there's a lot of work going into it. But it's fun. It's very rewarding. And for the people that got to do it, it's just something you have to do. And a lot of it isn't fun. In fact, most of it isn't fun anymore. The recording, everybody likes different things, but the recording process is, we've had a tough time on this one. We've been recording forever, and it's horrible. I hate being in the studio. All I do is just full of self-doubt, self-loathing, hating yourself, hating the other members of your band, and questioning every move you make and every decision. It's horrible.
Yeah.
That's
rough.
So stressful and you don't sleep, and it's just, but to finish it and get it done, it's just like this tiny thing that you just like, we just got to do. I don't know why. I can't explain it all. It's stupid.
Has recording always been like that for you, or has it changed over time?
It's definitely changed. We put a lot more stress on ourselves. The bigger we get, and there's more things to think about, more things matter. You know, back in the day, every time we go in with a different producer, or just every day you get a little wiser and you learn things. And so now, when we used to write a song, we just kind of throw a bunch of stuff out there. And now there's so much more thought, which is very funny too. When bands get bigger, a lot of people start saying like, "Oh, you like started making pop songs and you guys are selling out and you're taking forever to record like simpler songs," and they don't get it that it's so much harder. And that's another thing to always remember, young bands. People will tell you things how they don't like what you're doing if you get bigger, or your song gets on a TV show or something, and they'll try to tell you so. Don't forget that you don't write music for them. Write music for yourself. Even if you want to make, we try to make, accessible music, but with art and substance. But it's for us. We're not making it for anybody else. That's the one thing people forget. I do everything for anybody all day. The only thing I do very selfishly is make music.
Right.
Because otherwise it's not real.
That's true. And also, you can't please everybody. There's no possible way.
There is no way.
You couldn't write a song and be like, "Hey, do you like this enough?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you like me to fix it?" Yeah.
And I just can't. I can't care. Enough. Like, there's no way that we could go out and just tickle each individual person. It doesn't work. So every time we write a song, I'm like, well, anybody that likes this album of ours is going to hate this. Anybody that likes this album is going to love it. And we think about that, and I know that stuff happens, but you can't let it really affect what you want to do, especially us, because we want to do something different every time, for better or worse. We're going to keep changing. We're going to keep evolving, and so we'll see.
Cool. Well, on that note, Zach Carothers from Portugal, the man, thank you so much for joining us on The Future of What?
Thanks for having me.
Your mama's got nothing on me. Your daddy's got nothing on me. And the world that sleeps in its lunacy has got nothing on me. No star's got nothing on me. Your sun's got nothing on me. And the fool who sees it's the thief that leads got nothing on me. You know it's not because the light here gets brighter. And it's not that I'm evil. I got a friend in the devil. But I can't even be your friend. I can't even be your friend. I can't even be your friend.
That was Evil Friends by Portugal the Man. You're listening to The Future of What? We're looking at the value and necessity of touring. So far, we've heard from American bands who have successfully toured the country, but establishing a U.S. audience is pivotal to acts from overseas, too, like English duo Ultimate Painting. We talked with Jack Cooper and James Hoare last month at Pickathon. I am talking to Jack and James from Ultimate Painting, and I am Portia, and welcome to The Future of What?
Thank you. Thanks.
Have you lived in London a long time?
Yeah.
Have you done most of your musical career from London?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, because that was one of the things that I was pretty interested in about the UK music scene that's very different from America, which is that it's like if it's not happening in London, nobody cares.
Yeah, very much so. And
It's crazy.
it's almost like you'll inevitably end up there if you
Exactly.
do music, because it's just everything happens there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a little friends band called Esper Scout from Leeds,
Okay.
and we're always just like, call us when you move to London.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, we're going to resist because all of their friends' bands have moved. It's just how it happens. Is that because all the music press is there, or the television, or what is it? Or is it just sort of national?
I think it's
British
a lot to do
culture?
with the way the music industry works, where all the offices are there, all the labels, all the press people. And so I think even more over the years, it's just now become the epicenter.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing, in that it's been like that for so long. You kind of just have to move there if you want to succeed, I suppose.
Right.
There's obviously exceptions to the rule. There's lots of bands that come out of Glasgow and everywhere around the country, but it seems like everyone kind of moves down to London. I wish it wasn't like that, but
I know. That's just an interesting thing because in America, we have these regional scenes, or at least we used to. Certainly in the 80s and 90s, the regional scenes were very strong. I think lately, because of the internet, things have changed so much that everyone's a little bit less area specific, like region specific. But I know when I graduated from college, I moved to Minneapolis because Minneapolis was having a hot scene in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to move to the big city and make it
Yeah.
in the music business. And that did not happen, obviously.
I think the internet has a lot to answer for that kind of thing.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting that it hasn't really been the same in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, you do get people sometimes you get electronic musicians living out of the way, and there's some people manage to do that. But yeah, I think also London's so much bigger than any of the other cities. Like the live music scene is so much stronger. I mean, lots of American bands these days come over and they'll do a London show now, or they'll do two dates, London and Manchester.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's something to do with when you're touring in the UK. I don't think guarantees are that good, except in London for touring bands.
Right.
And gas costs a lot there. Hotels, you don't get. I mean, in Europe, you get hotels provided usually.
I know.
And here you have the culture of staying with people. But
Yeah.
it's kind of less like that in England.
Oh, interesting.
I think so anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons as well, people have smaller houses, so people, it's quite, especially outside of say New York people often have really big houses with spare rooms, and
Absolutely.
and that doesn't exist even outside of London. People,
Yeah.
it's just not something that's a thing. So it is a lot harder. Yeah.
Yeah, the irony of it is people move to London to meet people, to start bands and stuff. But I can't really think of a harder place in the country to exist as a musician or be in a band. I mean, rehearsal spaces are extremely expensive. No one has a basement.
Right.
You can't make any noise. I mean, we all live on top of each other.
Right.
It's expensive. It's super expensive.
Yeah.
And, it's so competitive as well.
How do you make that work when you go on tour? Do you have roommates? Do you lease out your flat? I mean, how do you make that work?
I live with a friend of mine, and Jack lives with his wife.
Oh, okay. So you've got someone who's actually continuing to
Yeah.
live there. That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But-
Marriage in the service of
Yeah.
rock and roll.
But I mean, even the way we started the band and the way we exist is we record everything's recorded in my flat, and we that's where we put all the music together, and we never go to practice spaces just because they're really expensive and then are quite depressing, and so no one has it. So our band exists basically from my bedroom. That's how everything we've ever done has been made there.
Wow.
And that probably is down to the London. If it was somewhere else, I'd probably have a studio, outside of the city or whatever, or
Right.
in my basement. Or people, I don't know anyone who's got studios spaces, and that's something you get in America. People,
Sure. Yeah.
So
Our music is completely defined by the fact that we live in London as well. Because I mean, we had to start off the drum when we did the first album. The drums are kind of barely there. They're so quiet. Everything we do is so quiet, which is why it kind of has this laid back thing, because we can't make that much noise.
Yeah, because we're always interested in the finances of how people manage to do this. You guys, I'm assuming, do not have day jobs?
No.
Have you had a day job?
I have I keep, like last summer when we weren't doing as much, I work for a florist. I like deliver flowers. So I was working quite a bit last summer, and now when I'm at home, I work like a day or two a week, which is kind of perfect. Like my boss is super flexible. So, I mean, she gets cross with me, but she would anyway. I'm not a good employee.
So when you guys are at home, how often do you go out on the road from home? Like how often do you play local shows or just travel around in the UK?
Surprisingly, very little, because especially if you're building a band up, when you start a band, you can play in London all the time. You can play with your friends, and the way it works now is it's so you play like one show when your record comes out, and your booking agent doesn't want you to do anything else, and it's a bit. I find that a bit frustrating, because often when you start a band, the most fun time is playing in like a little show, or we played like one of our first shows in my garden, things like that. And that's something about that's more of an American thing, and playing in yards, and that doesn't really happen so much. But as soon as the band gets more established and you have a fan base, you just play once a year when your record comes out, or maybe twice, and it's the same with the tour. Like we play outside of London very little, again, just when the record comes out or the odd festival.
Right. So you're not on the road all the time?
Well, we play in Europe quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
So Europe's a different matter. We can go back there a lot more, and there's more countries, and you can have focus on one region. Like we started doing well in the Netherlands, so we've been back there more, and then Spain's really big in itself. You can go there for 2 weeks, and so
I think last year we played like over 100 shows.
Okay.
So we play quite a lot.
Right.
But we don't do, small shows in London or.
Right.
We hadn't even done a UK tour until the last record. I realised with the first record we didn't even do a UK tour. We just played like Brighton or Manchester. But yeah, it's.
So you guys had been in bands before, but so you already had so the rudimentary knowledge of the business that you get with just being in a band and playing. But with this band, at what point did you guys start to get outside help? So like management, booking agent, label, how did that come?
It was pretty much straight away.
Oh yeah.
Like we finished the record and we were like, because we originally started where we met on tour, like James's band, Veronica Falls, my band Mazes were on tour with Veronica Falls. And we sort of hit it off, and James has like a home studio, and we talked about like doing like a single or something, or just like getting together to record. And we started recording, and they were like, this is really good. Let's make it an EP and get someone to put it out. And then it got to the point where we'd done an album, and we literally sent it off straight away to Trouble in Mind. And they got back that day and were like, we want to do it. We think we can get you an agent. And it was like within a week we had like everyone that we needed to do it. I know. But I think it was like, because we've been in bands before, we knew people, so it's like.
Yeah, you weren't cold. This wasn't your first rodeo.
And I think a lot of it is the people you meet along the way, because if you don't know, if we didn't have the connections we had, we wouldn't have been able to get it straight to a label.
Sure. Did you have a relationship with that label before?
No.
Did you just like them? How did you pick them? You liked what they were doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm less in touch with current stuff at the moment. I didn't even know about them. But then when Jack said they were like respected, I looked it up, and yeah, they put out really good stuff, and it seemed like we'd fit in well there. So
cool.
Yeah, I think it just got to the point where we'd been doing it long enough to know lots of people. And
sure.
I remember my friend Andrew, who's in that band Parquet Courts.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to him maybe last year, and we were talking about like, music, making music, and I was like, why do you think Parquet Courts is so much better? Got such a bigger profile compared to the things he's done before? Because I think his first band, Teenage Cool Kids, was as good as Parquet Courts. Mm-hmm. And then he did a band called Fergus and Geronimo, who were great as well. And he was just like, it's basically because I know more people now. Mm-hmm. It's like you go along and you know more people, and that's it.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think that was kind of how it was with us.
Yeah. I mean, I know as a label that if I were to get an email from you guys and I knew your old bands, I'd be like much more prepared to take you seriously.
Yeah.
You know, because you actually have a track record.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. And I think that's an important point. I'm glad we're talking about it for listeners who are in young bands. It's like you send a cold demo to a label, and you've done nothing in your life. It's really difficult for us to take you seriously because we don't know if you're going to tour. We don't know if you're going to do any of the aspects of the job that you need to do.
Yeah.
You guys are seasoned. It's like, oh yeah, they already have this job.
Yeah.
You know, and we're getting an opportunity to get on board.
But like I was saying earlier, if we were going to do that, I'd know someone who works for you or whatever. There's people will have connections. So
right, exactly.
For a start, like we'd be able to send it through, and that's just the kind of thing that I think if you just get things coming in, it's probably very rare that a band gets signed from in that situation. It must happen so rarely.
Very rarely. I think we've signed 4 bands from demos in our whole history, 25 years.
You didn't know, who weren't like
right. And who we were literally willing to take a chance on just out of love.
Yeah.
You know, love is always the downfall of record labels because we're like, but I love it. And then they turn out to break up immediately or never tour or something. ultimate painting. You're listening to The Future of What? If you're enjoying this program, like us on Facebook and become a subscriber on iTunes. Unlike Portugal the Man or the Thermals, this next group has taken an unusual approach to marketing themselves around the country. Simon Tam founded the Slants 10 years ago and resourcefully built the band's fan base by playing conventions. My guest is Simon Tam of the band The Slants. Welcome to The Future of What, Simon?
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So you have an awesome story. So I want you to tell our audience just how did your band get started and what do you guys do?
A lot of times people call us the world's first and only all Asian American dance rock band, which is kind of a mouthful, but it kind of got started because I watched a movie, Kill Bill from Quentin Tarantino. And I got it when it came out on DVD. I was watching it and there's a scene of this woman named Ornishi. She walks into a restaurant and she walks in with this gang of crazy 88s. And that moment was so powerful for me because it struck me that I'd never seen Asian Americans depicted as cool, confident, and sexy before on any mainstream film. And then I thought about my art, my passion, which is music. And I thought, wait, how come people don't? There's nobody that looks like me on the Billboard charts or in Rolling Stone or in MTV back when they used to play music videos. Like, why is even though there's 17 million of us, how come we have almost no representation? And so then I had this idea. I was like, maybe I should start a band that deliberately celebrates my culture in a bold kind of way with music that kind of throws back to 80s synth pop. And so that's kind of how we got started. But from then on, it became this whole series of adventures, of being that Asian band, of kind of thrown into weird niches when it wasn't quite expected, of tackling anime conventions as a market and everything else.
So tell us the story of how you got started with the anime conventions, because that is something I think that people would not have expected, and it's a really unique story.
Sure. So back in 2006, when I was looking for musicians to recruit for the band, I got invited to an anime convention. I thought, oh, great. There's going to be a ton of Asian kids there. Maybe someone play music and I can meet some of them. It turns out it's a bunch of white kids who are obsessed with Asian culture. And most of them don't play music. But as I was going through there, I noticed they're just really into the culture. And they were paying $50, $60 for import CDs. And I thought, well, if I brought in a real band here that isn't doing imports, we can do quite well. And so I went back home. I emailed the convention right away, even though I didn't have a lineup yet. I said, hey, I play in this Asian band called the Slants. I want to play at your convention. And they're like, you're Asian? Sure. You could be our guest of honor next year. So I was like, that was easy. And I was like, okay, I better get a lineup together. And as soon as I had that lineup, I was trying to convince them all, we got to play anime conventions. This is a great market. And they were all used to doing clubs and that kind of thing. They're like, that's crazy. Why would you ever do that? And I was like, just trust me. Nobody else is doing this. So we went and played that convention. And in that one show, we made enough to basically buy us a tour bus, pay for all our merch, and put out our first album.
Whoa.
Just from one show. And they had never heard of us before. But
wow.
We had 800 kids just jumping and screaming and dancing, treating us like we were total rock stars. And then I thought, we got to do this all the time. So I went and just contacted a bunch of other conventions. And I was like, we played this one con. You should invite us too. And sure enough, a lot of them were inviting us in because they didn't really have any bands out there. And so to this day, we've actually played more anime conventions than any band in the world. And the funny thing is we have nothing to do with anime. We've never been on an anime soundtrack. We don't play anime cover songs or anything like that. But because we've kind of established ourselves in that market, people see us as that kind of go-to band.
Wow.
And so we get flown all around the world to play these conventions. And I kind of tell by the attendance numbers how many CDs I'm going to sell that weekend and how many T-shirts to bring because it's consistent.
Wow.
And so at minimum, I'll bring I know I'm going to sell 50 discs and a bunch of T-shirts. And it just worked out really, really well. And so we've actually kind of structured our career around it. I book entire tours using anime conventions as our anchors. So if we play for a club and only make $100, I know I can go to a convention that's going to put us in a 5-star resort and play for a couple of days where we can shower and eat and make enough money to pay for the tour and have my band members taken care of.
Wow. That is really genius. That was a genius move on your part to do that. So, and you told me before that you actually used to play more anime conventions and you've cut back.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the economy kind of took this hit, people had less and less spending cash. Conventions kind of scaled down their budgets. And so that impacted us quite a bit. But as things are picking up, we're actually starting to play more conventions again. Like I just starting this year, we were in the news quite a bit recently. I started getting a lot of interest from other conventions. So we're seeing that pick up quite a bit, and even overseas too, like conventions in Europe and Australia are looking into us now.
Wow. You guys are going to go all the way around the world just on.
Just on conventions. I'm trying to book this anime convention in Moscow right now, but Google Translate is not working out so well. So if I could find someone to translate, then
Well,
it
this
would
is
work
a
out.
radio show, so write to us at thefutureofwhatshow@gmail.com if you are a Russian translator
You
or
could
you
be
know
our
one.
tour manager.
There you go.
Come with us.
You can go to Moscow with the Slants. So now another interesting thing about your band, because you run your band a lot like a business, which a lot of bands are sort of bands of friends and it's very casual. But you have an application online, correct? If you want to be a member of the Slants, you have to apply.
Yeah, my band members joke about this all the time. So one of the ways to filter out band members, aside from like their ethnicity, is that I have this application and it has the typical stuff you ask, like their name, contact info, but it also has questions like, why do you want to join this band? Like, what about this band appeals to you? What's your work ethic like? Do you have transportation? We ask for dietary preferences. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's like short answer sections. We got a new lead singer about 2 years ago, and he was like, it took me like 2 hours to fill out this thing. I was like, yeah, but that's how I knew you would be serious about this band. In addition to having that application on our website that people fill out, once we get that and kind of sort through the candidates we like, we actually bring them in for a live audition. And so we'll rent out a venue in town, and people are expected to show up and do a 5-song set with us without ever rehearsing with us, just to see if they could pick up our songs, see how they perform on stage, and we videotape them performing with us. And we basically treat it like a live show, except no one's in the room. It's just us and the video camera. And then after they perform with us, we do an in-person interview for about 15 to 30 minutes just to feel them out, see what their personality's like, see if they gel with the band, and kind of go from there. So it's
Wow.
quite a process, but I'd say like this is something I learned over the years after having a lot of turnover in the band, that I really wanted to make sure if people joined that they were really serious about the band, that they would honor their commitments, that they wouldn't flake out on us. And then once they're in the band, I think they appreciate the process because they're like, we went through all of this together, and it's almost like hazing them in or something because then they kind of bond over it, and they make fun of me all the time. Like if they screw up at a show, they're like, oh man, Simon's going to put this on our performance review.
You do performance reviews?
I don't actually, but maybe I should.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
But we definitely treat it like a business, and I treat them like employees. But it also, through that process, they become like family too,
Right.
because they realize that how much is at stake. That I remind them all the time, like this isn't just about like your show, like you performing well. Like if you screw up or if you're late to a show, that affects all of us and all of our livelihoods.
Right.
And so they all know that, and so there's like this deeper connection, and it creates like this really great work ethic among the band.
I think it's genius. I mean, from my perspective, it's genius because I've just worked with band after band and had these, heard stories, and also actually worked with people who just give up for the craziest reasons, or, oh, I can't tour because I'll miss my girlfriend too much, or,
Sure.
I mean, just crazy. I think I told you the story of the first band I managed whose drummer refused to go on tour because he didn't want to lose his job at his dad's grocery store.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you've got the rest of your life to be a checker. Like, if that's really your biggest ambition, like, come on, man, you can be a rock star.
And it's funny how like people just don't really think about these things before they make those commitments.
Mhm.
And that's why we even interview the applicants if they have a spouse. Like we took my drummer and his wife out to the singer who was auditioning and his wife, just to make sure that like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. Can you be apart from each other for months at a time? And then we actually have our drummer's wife there so she could explain what it's like from her point of view. And then they kind of bond when we're on the road and that sort of thing. But we have to like vet through these things so we're not about to jump on a tour and then have somebody back out right last minute.
Absolutely.
We need to be able to honor those commitments and make sure that they actually want to have that kind of a lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah. And you guys also are making real money, it sounds like,
Yeah, I mean, enough to like where most of the band doesn't have like day jobs and that
Exactly.
sort of thing.
So, and that's an important part of that, right? If you're going to take a job that actually supports you, Because I think that's one of the problems with bands. People get into bands when they don't have any money.
Sure.
So it just seems like a fun thing that you're doing with your friends. But then if it grows and it becomes something, then you have to reassess everything.
Yeah, you have to treat it like a job. And it's like, will your job allow you to show up totally drunk or late all the time? No. And so we have that written to the band contract that you're not drinking on stage. You're responsible for your own equipment, like all that kind of basic stuff. And once we get those conversations out of the way, it just makes it a lot easier to breathe because we know we can count on each other. We know what the expectations are, like right from the beginning. And it's great. I love the band members that I have now. They treat it like a profession.
Well, Simon Tam is a musician and an entrepreneur and a creator of niches. So thank you so much for joining us on The Future of What.
Thank you for having me.
Always happens in this downtown.
That was Capture Me Burning by the Slants. And that's our show. The music we played today was used by permission. You heard The Thermals, Ultimate Painting, Portugal the Man, The Slants, and of course our theme song, Mind Your Own Business by the Delta 5. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. For more info on our shows, check out our website at killrockstars.com/thefutureofwhat. Our program was engineered by Brent Asbury at Beta Petrol and is produced by Will Watts and Anna McLean. I'm Portia Sabin, president of Kill Rock Stars. See you next week.
Can I have